Will Work for Patients, episode 40.
A lot of people think, oh, this is my life now. What I want to try and do is to make people realise this is something that you can overcome, because that's what I've done, and that's why I think all coming from me is a lot easier to hear than if it was just coming from a health expert. The way people's opinions are forming, the way we're tiptoeing around certain things because of political correctness, I want to take that down, and I want people to realise that sometimes we have to get tough, and that's it. You just need to not be scared and be honest, and I think that's the message we need to get towards people. If you just sat there and listened and actually gathered the facts and realised that people are saying things that are real and evidence-based and fact-checked, you might have to say, do you know what, I'm wrong. And that's something else I feel very passionately about, because we are losing our right to free speech because of it. Coming from me, it's harder to argue against.
What up, Will Workers? Frank Sardella here. Have you ever been afraid to speak up, be yourself, talk from the heart, or intrude into an area of political incorrectness, all at the sacrifice of what you know as a wellness professional is the right thing to do? Then today's episode is for you. My guest today was an overnight sensation with her controversial blog article about weight loss. She stuck to her guns, however, and you are absolutely going to love what she has to say about it and will wish every patient will be just like her. She's going to teach all of us a thing or two about boldly sticking to your guns on what you really believe and firing off bullets of pure purpose to target the greater good. So drop everything, listen up, and get ready for a game changer. Today's episode is entitled, You Can Only Ride the Waves You Create. Here we go!
Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Will Work for Patients, a free advice podcast dedicated to help chiropractors get on purpose and grow their practices. Get ready to tune in and turn up the volume of your practice marketing. And now, turning up the volume on his mic, big-time chiropractic advocate and your host, here is Frank Sardella.
Hey, that's me. That's right, Will Workers. Frank Sardella here, your host of Will Work for Patients, and I'm really excited to be back with you today. I have to tell you, I have not recorded an episode in weeks now, and I apologize for being a little lax. We have a few things that we're getting going, included in which is the Sunday morning hustle. Have you found out about this yet? My Sunday morning from 5 a.m. is the time where I get up, I grab my laptop, I go to Starbucks, I sit there and hustle every single Sunday morning, and I figure out how I'm going to crush it that week. I'm very excited to bring it to you because the Sunday morning hustle is a group subscription coaching call, and we have a great trial offer right now. That's what I've been spending most of my time doing. We've had a lot of great calls, and I even have a freebie one that I'm going to share with you. So make sure you reach out to me at frank@screeningexperts.com. Find out what all the hubbub is about. We definitely want you to at least get on one call or at least listen to a sample replay on demand. Very exciting what we're doing. I want to share my early mornings on Sunday with you and get you crushing it in your practice. But man, am I excited for today's episode. This is one I've been waiting to do for a long time. I've just been waiting for the right opportunity. And did I find it this week? Kind of by accident, but you guys know me and how I roll. Accidents really don't happen in my life, and this one just presented itself to me and just fell in my lap this past week, and I'm so happy and so grateful, and I made a new friend out of it as well. Today's episode is entitled, You Can Only Ride the Waves That You Create. And I'll tell you what, that's something I just realized this week as well. Probably when I was writing the title is when I realized that, but you'll quickly see why with today's guest, why that's a theme from today's episode. The content is really amazing that I know you wellness professionals are going to absolutely want to know about, use to your advantage, and really look and decide for yourself that you really want to use this concept and even question yourself a little bit and your own purpose, but also how to really brand yourself by becoming more true to yourself and who you really are. Now, talk about making some waves. My guest today created quite a ginormous splash, an outcry of commentaries, thoughtfulness, argument, debate, and even a little controversy and unadulterated outrage. Key to what she did was to be true to herself and be completely honest, uncritical, and most of all, just be herself. And keynote of all of it is that she said something that really, truly needed to be said, and she wasn't afraid to say it, even though she knew, probably in the back of her mind or in her heart of hearts, that it would spark a little bit of controversy. The article she wrote about a hidden epidemic, many of you will agree is very real, but it itself was an overnight success with 80,000 views overnight, folks. That is quite a splash in anyone's book. And guess what? It didn't stop there, because as of this taping right now, I just found out this morning, it's at 165,000 views. You got that, Will Workers? 165,000 views of that blog article. Talk about a tsunami, folks. OMG is all I can say. Are you jealous? Well, don't be. She didn't do anything that you can't do yourself. And you know what I like the best? The thing that drove me to reach out to her on Twitter and absolutely stalk her until she came on the show was that she wasn't even trying. I'm not talking about humility or being humble. I'm talking about someone talking right out of a deep-seated purpose. And it really comes through in her writing in the article. And she is just a creative genius when it comes to this, although in talking to her, I don't think she has really realized that yet, what genius she has, but we'll try to convince her of that today. And before I get into the particulars and details, I would just like to take a moment to thank the ones who are powering today's episode of Will Work for Patients.
When you're on fire, people will come to watch you burn. That's not only the title of episode 39, but a direct quote referenced by Dr. Jerry Dreesen, Pacific Northwest chiropractor who succeeded, failed, and rose again, mastering a digital age. When I met him, he not only shared his success, he told me how he took his secret sauce and developed it into 5 distinct marketing assets any chiropractor can use to boom any practice. Still practicing, Dr. Jerry helps docs and pros grow with precise marketing techniques. What I like is that he shares his tools that have worked best for him time and again, literally to make every square foot of his practice earn revenue and top patient results. From exploiting reviews to capturing leads, I can tell you Dr. Jerry has the practice growth formula in hand. See for yourself. Visit dcmarketingproducts.com/podcast to get a free Huffington Post article written about you just for being a listener of Will Work for Patients. Let my good friend Dr. Jerry boost your credibility and give you some free marketing advice too. Visit dcmarketingproducts.com/podcast now. That's dcmarketingproducts/podcast.
Will Workers, I'm so inspired by my guest today. If you haven't gotten the idea, by now you may be getting an inkling. My guest today hails from the UK. She was born and raised in London, and her life is a reflection of exactly her overnight success, with her status quo challenging. She didn't plan for the success she found. She was just true to herself and didn't try to lie or kid herself when it came to the hard stuff, the things many of us have a hard time confronting. 29 years old now, at age 14, she was diagnosed with hypermobility syndrome after dislocating her knee, something which happened no less than 10 more times and went on to include her jaw, her fingers, her toes, all of it multiple times. Now stay with me here, because this is where her story sounds a lot like my story I told you back in episode 1. A decade later, her health started to deteriorate. Multiple doctor visits, having to quit her job. The doctor visits and diagnoses began to pile up in a geometric progression. She says her life was ruined by chronic pain and fatigue, as well as insomnia, weight gain, and resultant mobility issues. A buffet of pills for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, over 10 varieties with countless side effects. She describes her existence then as painful, exhausting, and truly felt her life was over in her mid-20s. I can't believe how much her story parallels my mid-20s story, and it doesn't look like her prospects were any better than mine were at that time. Taking matters into her own hands, she gradually started trying to keep herself moving and exercising, and she did make a change. And boy, did she, folks. Fast forward 3 years to the present, she's 55 pounds lighter. She's off 90% of her medications, has her life back, and talk about a comeback. And yes, wait, there's more. My guest is no stranger to being an overnight sensation. She has been published in German, Italian, and British Vogue with her own fashion line she had no intention of taking to the runway. Again, success seemed to follow her. Okay, now you have to read her article, and trust me, you're going to want to watch this girl as she shoots to the stars rapidly, if unknowingly. I am gushing again, aren't I? Let's just let her kick back and tell you her story. I'm just going to let her speak, so without further ado, please welcome to Will Work for Patients the delightful, witty, and most humbly outspoken Miss Holly Ashe. Welcome to the show, Holly. Say hello.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's really great to have you here. I'm so excited this is finally going down. We did so much talking over the last week about this that I've been bubbling with excitement, almost like waiting for Christmas to come.
Thank you.
Listen, I just want to start out. You have quite a story. I have to tell you, the article really reached me, but when I heard your story and the backstory behind it and all your experience leading up to that article, I could really see how you'd have an overnight success, at least in the eyes of the public. But it really wasn't an overnight success. It was really a long journey for you. Could you maybe just comment a little bit on your story leading up to now?
Yeah, the way my life was going when I did hit my mid-20s and, I wasn't able to walk, I wasn't able to work, it was the things that followed that obviously was things like depression, anxiety, agoraphobia. And what I learned on that journey was about how much is to do with your mind, not just the physicalness of trying to move. It's trying to get your mind to make your body move. And that's why I think I'm so passionate about everything that I have been writing now, because I do think it's to do with the mind. But yeah, I was in a very, very bad place. I was depressed. And I think once you start to realise that this cannot be it, this mustn't be, the pills, the doctor's visits, etc. A lot of people, I think, fall victim to that vicious circle. And then because they're not encouraged by anybody, especially people like within the media, within doctors' surgeries, because they just don't have the time, you just think, oh, this is it. This is my life now. But I think what I want to try and do is to make people realise this isn't it, actually. This is something that you can overcome, because that's what I've done, and that's why I think it all coming from me is a lot easier to hear than if it was just coming from a health expert or from somebody who hasn't been through it. It was a 3 or 4 year journey. It wasn't easy, and that's another thing I think that people don't really see or want to put the effort in, which is ridiculous because you've only got one life. It was super tough, and it was a real crazy. I don't know how to describe it really. It was just a crazy sort of time. If I look back, sometimes I don't believe I went through it, because it was quite, I didn't feel present within it, because I've got back to such normality now, because my health is brilliant now, because I have got my life back now. And trying to look back, I find it hard that I did go through that.
I actually just want to pause and make a point, Will Workers, that as you can see from Holly's story and actually my story, if you go back to episode 1 of the podcast, and it was just a half an hour of me talking, no theme music, no nothing, telling my story. And I never went to chiropractic school. I didn't decide to become a chiropractor, but I did take what happened to me and I wanted to export it to others. Matter of fact, my Sunday Morning Hustle coaching call this past Sunday was about exactly that, about how to create people who want to help others enough that they become a whole team or a whole army that is with you, that unite together for the common purpose of really pushing forward wellness. And obviously Holly's followed that natural progression, much the path that I followed, and this is why I resonate with her and why I wanted to have her on the show. And I'd really like you to take away that major point right now. I think that's very, very important. Holly, what started all this hubbub, and the reason I even came in contact with you, is I saw someone posting the actual blog article that started all the trouble. The article was on one of the most popular hashtags, which I didn't even know about until I read your article, and then I had to investigate it, something called body positivity, which, by the way, sounds much better with a UK accent than But the bottom line is the body positivity, it was really something I was very aware of, but I really didn't know it was a thing, so much so until I read your article, and that's really what I like about it. So could you give our listeners like a little bit of a background on what the whole body positivity movement is and why it's being promoted? Let's start with that.
Yeah, and the body positivity movement is mainly on social media, on some websites. And what it is, it's mostly women accepting who they are, accepting their body shape, no matter what the media says. There's a lot of attack from the media. They want us to be this way, but we want to be bigger. We're big and beautiful. We love our curves, etc. There's hashtags like F your beauty standards, dare to wear, because, it's women wearing, crop tops, which usually are worn by slimmer women, and they're bigger, and it's basically a whole community, quite a really large community within, in the millions of women encouraging each other and supporting each other to be who they are, no matter what beauty standards they should be. It's mainly headed by plus size model Tess Holliday, who's an American plus size model, who's quite famous in America. She's made waves here, but she's much bigger in America. And she's the one who's a lot of women look up to, because obviously she's made her career out of being a model, and she's poses in bikinis despite being, nearly 300 pounds, and that's the sort of gist of the movement.
Just in and of itself, a pretty sensitive area topic. You can already probably sense the controversy just in that alone. So the whole body positivity movement, this actually sparked you to write this article, which I want to get into in a moment. But before we do that, I just want to preface this here by saying Holly didn't do anything against someone being who they truly are as a person or try to say that the standards of supermodels should be our standard. She was just really speaking out against being okay with being unhealthy. And that's sort of what I'd like you to get into a little bit on your story of how this all came about. Like, what sort of, in your own personal experience and life, led you into writing this article about body positivity?
I think it started when I was bigger and when I was incredibly unwell. And I'm not sure how many programs you get over in the US, but in the UK we get quite a lot of programs about bigger people, about obesity. And funny enough, they switched over to the American bigger community and the debilitation it was causing. And I used to sit there thinking, I've got the same problems as these people. And theirs is almost, not, I don't want to say the word self-inflicted, because they didn't do it to themselves on purpose, but it wasn't because they were struck down with illnesses. It was because they put on weight. And it upset me because I would have done anything to not be in the position I was at that point. You know, I wanted to be able to go for a jog. I wanted to be able to, you know, just go shopping without having to use a walking stick. You know, I was 25 and I had a fold-up walking stick and I owned a wheelchair and, you know, I had to plan out everything. So there's seating somewhere in case I need to sit down. And it upset me a lot. And when I was on a journey to making myself better by exercising and healthy eating, the people I saw I went to a community gym, and the people I saw, I used to work out next to a guy with cerebral palsy who's doing press-ups, you know, blind people were going there, people in wheelchairs were going there, and the inspiration you got from these people, they were letting nothing get in their way. Absolutely nothing. I mean, I've got over 6 different syndromes, and I didn't let that stop me. And so I looked at these people who generally have, you know, the incredible drive and the courage to go to and work out and make themselves better despite whatever ailments they have. I thought, well, anyone can do it. And it used to inspire me when I was standing there and I thought, this is too much. I thought, you know what, they can do it, I can do it. And it drove me. But then I saw there was a celebration of obesity, really, in if you really strip it down. I'm not against, like you said before, I'm not against anybody being positive about the way they look. I mean, I myself, I'm not skinny, I'm not, you know, model type. But when you're celebrating people who are 300 pounds, you know, it's okay now, but what about the future? And it angered me, and I don't want people to be falsely led on to thinking that that's okay when I myself have suffered health problems, and I don't want anyone else to have to go through that. You know, I don't want anybody to have mobility problems because they didn't have somebody saying, you know, you're unhealthy, you've got to stop this. And I think a whole body positivity movement, I think, is encouraging that, and it angered something in me. It upset me, and I just had to say something about it. I kept ranting to my friends, and I was saying, "Write it down. I'm going to write it down." And you know, and now so I think that was it. I think it's from my personal experience, seeing that people, what they're going through because of weight gain, when they could be, it's just the smallest movements, you know, that you could start from, and they're not doing it. Instead, they're hiding behind keyboards, encouraging each other, that's saying it's fine. And I just think that needed to be said, that it's wrong.
That's really, really brilliant. And just your anger and upset actually now created some maybe anger and upset in others. Woodworkers, there's a lot really to take away from what Holly just said here. But I think what's most inspiring is the fact that you were inspired by others and then now are living to inspire others from that new vista, let's say. Going to the gym and seeing people there with cerebral palsy and blindness, people in wheelchairs actually going and doing pull-ups or push-ups or whatever and really not letting their conditions stop them and being inspired to go ahead and do that. Something we all wish to bring out in everybody, and sometimes we have to remind ourselves that that's what we're all in this to do. Again, there's really 2 sides to this. There's the being the inspiration and actually having your own personal circumstances and growing out of them and really making a life change and then helping others do it. But then there's the side to this actual topic, which is a really hot topic. And Holly, I really like what you said about, you labeled it celebration of obesity. And I think you really hit it on the head, because you're really not being critical of people being overweight in terms of like being proud of how they look or who they are. You're not saying everyone should be a supermodel and holding people to these impossibly high standards that a lot of people complain about. But you're saying that it is an unhealthy condition of the body, and that a person should be at a healthy weight, meaning they should achieve the amount of health in their body that allows their body to be the size that it should be. And anything else, really, body positivity and otherwise, is a celebration of an unhealthy, obese condition. And I think that's really what the issue is here. And I think a lot of people got you and a lot of people didn't get you. I, for one, got you from the start. My first read-through, I had to reach right out to you because I thought that was brilliant. You're encouraging people. You got angry and upset, and you did something about it. So, Will Workers, one more thing is that this is what I'm talking about finding yourself and your true passion and your true purpose, and then really being yourself all the way. Having the courage to just speak out, no matter what kind of waves it's going to create or controversy, and look at the amount of communication that happened as a result of that. And here, Holly started her own movement as well. So thank you for that contribution, Holly.
No problems.
You mentioned something very interesting to me in the pre-show interview about responsibility. You brought up the most notorious case, but I think you saw other cases online. Tess Holliday, here she is in all her glory. And you said something to me that really resonated, and you talked about irresponsibility. What did you mean by that when you said that she's being irresponsible in a way?
If you go onto Tess Holliday's website, the first thing you see is she calls herself a body positivity ambassador. So she's basically putting herself on the forefront of this. She's saying, this is who I am, this is my movement, I'm an ambassador for this, she has 1.3 million followers on Instagram.
Wow.
She's got a huge following. She has clothing line, she travels the world, she's got children. She continually speaks out about her being healthy. She's 300 pounds. Now, just because no health warnings have started to signal yet, they obviously will. There's not many people. There are obviously a few people who will go throughout life at 300 pounds and not have any health problems, just the same way as there's some people who smoke 50 packets of cigarettes a day and they never get lung cancer. But at the end of the day, the majority of people who are 300 pound plus will start to deteriorate in health, whether it will be their joints, whether it will be their heart, whether there's diabetes, etc. Just because it hasn't presented itself yet, it's definitely in the works. But she keeps labelling herself as healthy. She's a lot. Funny enough, she actually came onto a very popular UK TV show and said it, and she got a very big backlash from the UK online, because they said, well, no, you can't be healthy at that size. We were actually quite outspoken about it. A lot of her audience are young. And the problem is I think the young generation these days is they're very susceptible and very easily led through social media. You see all these craze like that are killing children because it's fun. I don't really read much about them, but there's certain crazes like something about a whale. Kids are dying basically because they're following trends. And the thing is, this is just a slow course of something that could be fatal. There's young girls and young guys looking up to her. She's saying, I'm healthy, I love my body, I'm fantastic. And it's making people feel like, yeah, you know what, it's fine. It's fine that I'm heading towards 300 pounds. This is an okay thing, when it's not. And she's got a responsibility. She wants to put herself as a body positivity ambassador. She needs to start showing how to be body positive properly, in a healthy way, in a way that, I'm not talking about getting slim, I'm not talking about getting skinny, I'm talking about leading a healthy lifestyle, eating right, going to the exercise and being active regularly. But she's not. This is not what she's preaching. What she's preaching is, you can be 300 pound and wear a crop top. It's all aesthetics. She talks a lot about your beauty standards, but she's just setting up a new beauty standards, which is actually affecting health in the same way that the runway supermodels are doing the same way to skinnier people. Exactly. People who are starving themselves, trying to get to a size 6, a size 8. It's on the opposite end of the scale though, and they're seen more hailed as heroes than as what, like France have banned models under a certain bbmi, but no one will ban a certain BMI if it's on the other end of the scale, which it's just as equally dangerous. So what I think is she's got a responsibility, just as the supermodels did when we went through that phase in the 90s of really super skinny women. You know, the people that funnily enough, are attacking, that she's got the same one. She's just created a new beauty standard, which is bigger, and it's just as unhealthy.
I couldn't agree with you more. As a matter of fact, Holly, I'm actually on Tess Holliday's Instagram right now, 1.4 million followers, and I'm looking at her most recent post. She reposted someone's post about it, mentioning the word fat phobia. And I really have to agree with you, and I think what you've essentially summed up there is a contradiction or a double standard, because of just what you said about BMI being below a certain thing for models is unacceptable, but there's no high end of the scale. There's no upper limit. And as far as fat phobia, this is like now taking the opposite camp, which is never the solution, to take the opposite camp and say, well, let's all have skinny phobia or healthy phobia or supermodel phobia or whatever. Right, and I think the real issue here, I happen to agree in the responsibility, because obviously it's having effects on people who are supporting her. Here, case in point is this person saying that, well, people seldom tell me I should be thinner because of my health. It's always because of my aesthetic presence. And I want to invite our listeners to join in with this. I know I'm on board with it, that we would start, and I think you've done this, we would start a new body positivity movement. That the new body positivity movement is get healthy, be healthy, exude wellness. And in so doing, having that positive outlook on health and having that be what you exude, and by exuding that, you will be at the weight that you belong at. And it's probably not going to be supermodel for many people. It's not going to be like the commercials you see on TV, or, you know, when you go see Baywatch this weekend in theaters or whatever. That for different people, there are different body shapes and body sizes and body types, but there's healthy and there's unhealthy. And encouraging that, I think, is somewhat of a responsibility point. So I agree with you. You were going to say something.
Definitely, yeah. What I was going to say was, if Tess Holliday or of these other followers of this movement really want to deal with the media, they need to stop looking about, you know, like she said about the way she looks. You need to start thinking about the way you feel. That's the way you need to hit back at the media. If they're so upset with, you know, being blasted with all these advertisements, with slim models and, you know, with perfect skin, flawlessness, etc. If you start looking after yourself, instead of listening to about what you should look like, maybe you should start listening about how you should feel. And when I was on, I lost 55 pounds. Yes, you know, I look a lot better, but that wasn't my main goal. You know, people used to say to me, you know, Holly, you look great. I said, no, I feel great. All I thought about is the way I feel, and the weight loss was just a byproduct of it. And I think this is the mindset, and that the body positivity movement should be. It should be about the way you feel, about, you know, physically your body feeling that positivity, not the way it's looking. And that's the best way to fight back at the media that they're so upset and so against for. I mentioned in the blog about people's thought about what they should look like because of the media. I'm not silly. I'm not stupid enough to think, oh, you know, I'm going to look like Kim Kardashian if I go to the gym, you know, no cellulite, this, that, and the other, you know. I think people need to stop passing the buck with responsibility, saying, oh, well, the media said I should look like that. You know, I'm upset, I haven't got, you know, flawless skin, etc. We're all very aware of Photoshop. We're all very aware of airbrushing, of, you know, all these things.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think it's time to start taking responsibility for ourselves, realising that that's not actually the way we should be looking, whether it's big or small, and it's just the way we should be feeling. And by feeling great, we're going to look great, you know, because we're going to look like ourselves, and we're not going to be obsessed with the way we look. I'm not saying, you know, completely, you know, banish the beauty regimes and things. I wear tons of makeup, you know, I'm always getting my hair done, etc. Because that's why I feel good when I'm wearing makeup and I've got my hair done, because, you know, that's because it's just something that I enjoy. But what I'm talking about is more not pushing yourself to those beauty standards. So she's got the hashtag F your beauty standards, yet she's technically created a new beauty standard, and it's for bigger people. When really, if it's F your beauty standards, it's like, well, yeah, you know, I'm not going to strive to be Kim Kardashian or, you know, Kylie Jenner. I'm going to strive to be in the best that I can be by eating right and exercising and looking after myself.
So F those beauty standards too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's awesome. That's really great. So let me put you on the spot a bit, because going forward, I think you've made some really good points here, and something from which we can all learn. I know I've learned a lot from you just from our first conversation we had, but just from reading your article. You have a purpose here. You've definitely found a purpose through all of your experience, and you've come out into the light now. What would you say it is going forward? I mean, what's your goal now?
I think I want to, all of the negative comments that I got from people who are bigger, I want to try and change their mind. I want them to not necessarily go against feeling good about themselves, with the body, because obviously when you're saying something against something called body positivity, that sounds like you are, into the fashion modeling, etc. Especially coming from a fashion background, I can see why people would instantly want to attack. But what I want people to do is actually sit there, read, think other things that I'm going to come out with, and actually try and resonate with it. Not look at it negatively. I'm not attacking people. I'm trying to change people's minds for the positive. And what I want to do is try and get that going forward, and I want to get more people active. I want to get people eating healthily. I don't want people dying at the age of 30 because of obesity, and I don't want our healthcare system struggling because they're having to do so many bypass surgeries. I want this sort of movement that's going forward, the way people's opinions are forming, the way we're tiptoeing around certain things because of political correctness. I want to take that down, and I want people to realise that sometimes we have to get tough, and that's it. We need to stop tiptoeing around people because they're big and start telling them you're big because you're not moving and you're not eating right. We need to, instead of giving people bypasses and gastric band surgery, maybe we need to sit them in front of a counsellor and, get to know why they've got these issues with food. This is what we do with people with anorexia and with bulimia. A lot of obese people suffer from binge eating disorders, but they're not recognised. And maybe, getting people to realise they've got a problem, that they are big, and that they need to, start moving and start eating healthily. And obviously, if that's not going forward, there might be something going on emotionally. And I just want that quick fix, those fad diets, everything like that, they need to all go out the window. The pressure to lose weight needs to go out, and what people need to start focusing on is who they are and the health side. Get healthy and want to feel better instead of look better. And that's something that I want to just get out there and get people to think, not even just obese people, just slim people aren't healthy either, and I want everybody to start realizing what a fantastic life, a healthy life is, and how rewarding it is, and how great you feel, and that's something that I really want to put forward, and to get people to not be scared about telling people, this isn't right, and to shock people into saying, you're overweight, you're going to get health problems. It's time to step up and take responsibility of yourself.
That is so awesome. And
Thank you.
I think that's a great purpose going forward. And I'd like to quote Dr. Eric Berg in his book, 7 Principles of Fat Burning. Folks, if you haven't read it, it's a great book. His whole premise is that the body doesn't gain excess weight when it's in a healthy state. So it's not you need to lose weight so you can get healthy, or you have all this weight and you're going to get health problems. You already have health problems. But there's nothing wrong with achieving total wellness, because your body will become the size that it's supposed to be. Healthy people shine no matter what size they are. If they're big boned or whatever runs in their family, and they automatically look awesome. So I happen to agree with you wholeheartedly. I would like to ask you this. What would you say to wellness professionals to really carry this message forward? Okay, we talked about Tess Holliday and whatever. Let's talk about the people who are advocating wellness. What would you say to them in terms of carrying this torch forward?
I think going forward, we do have patients come in, and it could be something to do with what they're eating, with their lifestyle habits. You just need to not be scared and be honest. Obviously, don't sit them down and say, you're fat, you're eating too much, etc., etc. I always believe in you have to change your mind before you can change your body. And I think that's the message we need to get towards people. So you need to throw away the scales. You need to throw away timings that I want to lose 20 pounds before I go on holiday in 4 weeks, etc. Yeah. And I think what it is, it's trying to personally get to know what the issue is with, obviously I know people are stuck for time, but if you truly want to help somebody, I think it is trying to get into what the problem is. Is it just family habit because everybody's been doing it, overeating? Is it because, something's happened to them? Is it just because they really like food, certain foods, and they're not aware of the sugar what sugar does to your body? Is it because they're not, aware of what sugary sort of low-fat foods do to you, etc.? And I think it's, first of all, educating yourself on these issues that do affect your whole body, and educating yourself on more of a nutritional side, which is something that I'm really into. Is I myself just sit on the computer all day and read up about these things, and then passing that information to, your patients, because I've seen it before when people are, I'm eating this many calories, I'm exercising, etc. I'm like, yeah, but what are you eating? I'm eating low-fat yogurts, I'm eating low-fat cereals. Like, yeah, these are chock full of sugars. This is what's creating fat, It's things like that you need to be aware, and people aren't aware. Just how disheartening is it when you're trying to lose weight, you're exercising, you're eating all this low-calorie, low-fat crap that, that doesn't taste like anything you want, and you're not enjoying it, you're constantly hungry, and you're not losing any weight. And people need to be aware of as well, when you're on the weight loss journey, that you do have those times, and you do have plateaus where you won't lose any weight, and you will have relapses. And I think it's taken the guilt out of things like eating as well. This is something that wellness people, and chiropractors, if they're helping somebody lose weight, they need to let the patient know, you are going to have relapse. You are never not going to eat cake again. This is going to happen, But, there are going to be birthdays. Yeah, exactly. There are going to be birthdays. There are going to be celebrations. Don't feel guilty about it. When you're in a healthy state, I remember the first time, actually, when I went on a complete, I went out, had loads to drink, I had a takeaway, and usually I would have put on weight like that instantly. I would have stepped on the scale a few days later and I would have gained 5 or 6 pounds. And I said to my friend, who's my personal trainer, I said to him, I didn't put any weight on. I lost weight this week, I didn't weigh myself a lot, but because of that, I thought, well, I better see the damage. It's like, yes, because your metabolism's kicked in. You're a healthy person. And it just clicked. I was like, oh my God, I'm not saying obviously I do that all the time now, but I'm saying, like, once you've got that healthy lifestyle, you are allowed to have cake. And it's people, when they do things like calorie controlled and etc., this isn't going to happen. This is why you need to exercise and eat healthily, eat whole foods and plant-based foods. And, you naturally will get such a healthy, ticking over body. Your body will tick over so well, you will have a huge lump of cake with cream and, a few beers, and it won't matter. And I think this is the attitude people need to get their heads round. And this is something that I think is a responsibility of the person who wants to lose weight and better themselves, but also have the support network like the wellness coaches and chiropractors and doctors and whoever else. And when they're more knowledgeable, when they know more about what causes fat, what goes through somebody who is trying to go from, that one extreme lifestyle to another, they can be there to support, and it's a much easier flowing journey to go through.
And what a mouthful, pardon the pun.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't stop talking.
Well, workers, I couldn't have said it better myself. In fact, I couldn't have said nearly half of that, really. And I'm really humbled by, the advice that you've just given. All that being said, there is the portion of it where you get to really be yourself and be not afraid to come out and speak out on these issues. Speak out on them in a way that shows that you're just an advocate of health. And if you let that shine through, people will get it. And Holly, honestly, I really think you're on your way with this, because despite all of the negative comments you got and people saying you're either fat shaming or whatever the comments are that they're making, to be honest, I haven't read any of the negative comments. I just don't pay attention to that. But I think you're well on your way, because I think you are reaching people. I think you are changing minds with that, because you're coming from a genuine place and you're really being yourself about it. And you're not talking insanity here. You're not talking craziness. You're not one extreme or the other extreme. You're right in between and saying, hey, be healthy, feel great, and you'll look awesome. And people will know it, and they'll see it in you. So that's brilliant. And, best of luck to you with that, because I know that you're going to succeed. And so let me just ask you this, because we're coming to the end of the episode here. What's next for you? I mean, isn't it a little bit hard to follow up when you have a smash hit? Everybody worries about the sequel, right?
Yeah.
And obviously this saddles you with a little bit of responsibility yourself. I mean, you just had this notoriety that happened overnight, essentially, with specifically the article. Obviously, it took you years to come to this. It wasn't an overnight success per se. But the article itself had an overnight contact, and now a week later, 165,000 people have seen this thing. So where would you say you go from here? What's next?
I've got a blog coming out tonight, and it's kind of what I've got from some. I haven't read a lot of the comments because, first of all, there was too many, and second of all, a lot of it was, I mean, a couple I read, some of them didn't even read the articles. I thought, well, I know where this is going, so I didn't bother. But a couple of it, a few things was what I forgot to write, what I feel like I should have included in the first blog. So it's kind of like a follow-up about some of the things that we've spoken about today, about the comparisons to the fat shaming and skinny shaming and websites, the pro anorexia websites and the body positivity movement, and the similarities they have. Yet one was shamed, which so it should have been, and one's being hailed and celebrated. And but it's that at the moment, I mean, 1.4 million followers for a woman who's advocating a very unhealthy lifestyle. That's on an epidemic scale, and I think this is something that I write about in my next blog. And yeah, we'll just see, I think, where it goes from there. I'm writing on other issues as well that I feel really strongly about the whole political correctness we have going on, that everyone's gone crazy, and how actually we're losing free speech, which is something I feel very strongly about. And that's something else which I think as well really coincides with the body positivity movement, because I've said one thing against it and I've been crazy attacked. Obviously on the free speech side, you're allowed your own opinion, which is what I welcome opinion, but if it's not going to be evidence-based, fact-based, if it's just going to be because, I've hurt someone's feelings and you're saying I'm wrong for no apparent reason, it's not something I'm going to waste my time with. I will completely sit down with somebody who's got a very good argument. I'm not that sort of person who thinks I'm right and that's it. I'm extremely open, but so far nobody has. And and I think this is something that we need to teach on the other side, on these people who are like following the body positivity, that maybe if you just sat there and listened and actually gathered the facts and realised that people are saying things that are real and evidence based and fact checked, it's going to be you might have to say, do you know what, I'm wrong, and that's something else I feel very passionately about, because we are losing our right to free speech because of it.
Holly, I can tell you definitely have my support going forward, and I know we'll be doing some. For me, I see my responsibility as, now that I found out about this, I need to export it as well. So here I am, broadcasting. I'm interviewing you. I'm exporting you to health practitioners all over the world who tune in and listen. But listeners, will workers, I really want you to take note of this, and I'd like your help as well, and I would love to hear from you. Frank@screeningexperts.com. Write me and let me know your ideas for how we can help Holly forward this movement, and what we can do from our profession or our various professions. Let's say we have a lot of health coaches and massage therapists and even dentists now and so on who are listening. I really think Holly's got her finger on a definite pulse of society right now that reaches millions and millions of people. And this is actually, to me, with all even the negativity that comes, from the comments and people who get offended, is still going to generate a positive out of it. And I see it as an opportunity. And Holly, if I'm not mistaken, I think you see it as that way as well.
Definitely. I mean, the response I've got from people directly has all been positive. I haven't got a lot of negative directly at me. It's just under the comments section. Those are the only places. But people have come out and messaged me, like yourself, and tweeted, said it's been, it was a great read and it's something that should be said. So there's already people agreeing, but I think a lot of people couldn't say it because they haven't been in that position, whereas I was in a very good position of being able to say it, because as a form of big person myself with health problems and every excuse under the sun to remain big, I could have, I had, but I still didn't, and I still went out there and worked extremely hard. And I think coming from me is less of a blow. I think it's harder to argue against. So, and I really appreciate everyone's support and your support, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds.
That's so commendable, and it's so well done, Holly.
Thank you.
Now for the last word. Who gets the last word? I do. After all, it's my show.
What should you take away from today's episode? If anything, I'd like you to take away one thing. That with great power comes great responsibility. And you have the greatest power available in health and wellness care anywhere on earth. But it doesn't end there. Your even greater responsibility is to tap your true passion and bring out all of you. I just finished reading Gary Vaynerchuk's first book, Why Now is the Time to Crush It, and my biggest takeaway is his dedication to staying true to himself and his views, no matter the effects and waves he creates. It is that which makes him successful at making people's lives better and, of course, making millions in the process. And this is what will make you do same. I reference you to episode 26 of the show, Put Up or Shut the F Up. This was me coming out with my true passion for this and the podcast. My coaching and my results were forever changed. I wish for you to have the same. Create those waves and ride them, and you will find the type of overnight success you always imagined will happen. Just realize that overnight is only apparent. There's a ton of work that goes into it. Holly and I have massive backstories with experiences, good, bad, and otherwise, as do you. But you'd be surprised how much of your backstory you have endured. It's time for your overnight success. Isn't it high time you cashed in? First of all, Holly, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on my show. Again, I can't say enough how impressed I am with this right. Make sure you go to the website. The episode will be posted at willworkforpatients.com/Holly. And when you go there, we will have links to everything, including the blog article that started all the trouble, that started all the hubbub. This is the part of the show where I normally put people in touch with you. So how can people either contact or follow you? What would be the best way?
The best way is Twitter, so it's at Holly Rose Ashe. And yeah, you can follow me, message me. I'm quite active on there, so that's probably the best way.
Folks, those of you who are listening who are not using Twitter yet or who are social media-ly challenged, if I may, this is your opportunity to get there because this is the only way you're going to contact this girl, find out what she's posting, and you can direct message on there if she follows you back, which she will. And she got back to me very, very quickly. Then again, I did stalk you through social media for about a half an hour until I got you to follow me, which is great. But I'm so glad that I did because we got a great product. I got a great person I'm connected with. There's a great movement I'm now part of, and I got a great friend out of it in the process. So that's awesome. But to follow Holly on Twitter, at Holly Rose Ashe. That's at Holly Rose, A-S-H-E. Make sure you put the E, which is silent. Hopefully we'll see a Twitter post, which I will retweet, about the blog article, The Next Trouble that you're going to start here. which will be wonderful.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Folks, I just want to put another plug for the Sunday Morning Hustle here while I have the opportunity. Obviously, I want you to go to Will Work for Patients. That's willwork4patients.com. Click on episodes. You can see all the episodes there. You can click on blog, and you'll see blog articles. I will undoubtedly, by the time you listen to this, have written blog articles about exactly what we talked about today and some other topics that I have cooking right now. I have a ton of guests lined up. I just compiled a list of about 36 really hot guests we're going to have, and we've got a really hot schedule for you. So I really want you to stay tuned. But Sunday Morning Hustle, if you're not on this yet, please inquire with me. I have a special deal where you can try it for a month. And also I have the very first installment of the Sunday Morning Hustle. It's over an hour. It's about an hour and 20 minutes long. Replay on demand. I will send it to you for free. The topic was called Moving the Story Forward, and in your practice, you definitely need to realize how to move that story forward. You're stuck in the brunt of your practice every day, in the trenches, taking grenades, and you seldom really step back and look at your overall strategic practice growth plan, and this is your opportunity to figure out how to move the story forward while you're taking those grenades in the trenches. So I want you to do that. Please write me at frank@screeningexperts.com with feedback. And again, I challenge you to please give me ideas that I can forward along to Holly and how we can all work together to really forward this movement and use it not just to our advantage. I don't want to say to our advantage, but to the advantage of all, how we're going to create wellness in society. I think Holly is onto something here. Holly, thank you again for being here. I know I've thanked you up and down, but this is my final thank you to you. Thanks for appearing, and I would like to invite you back. I think there's definitely another episode or two that we can cook up in the future, and I hope you'll accept my offer to come back to the show.
Oh, definitely. Thank you for having me.
It was delightful to have you here.
Awesome. Thanks very much.
So, my friends, we've come to the end of a wave-riding episode. On behalf of myself, my staff, my guest Holly Ashe, and the rest of the Broadcast Wellness crew, I thank you so very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another bodacious episode of Will Work for Patients. So long.
Sure to subscribe and share. Will Work for Patients has been brought to you courtesy of Screening Experts, bringing unscripted simplicity to chiropractic marketing complexity. Today's episode, copyright Screening Experts LLC, musical score composed and arranged by Frank Sardella ASCAP. For more information, visit screeningexperts.com.